You're listening to the Amazing Facts Daily Devotional. Today's topic, Elijah, the greatest show on earth, Part 3. During World War I, desertion from the army was considered a grave offense. Great Britain alone captured 291 deserters and executed them by firing squad. After Elijah's triumphant display, God ended the drought, 1 Kings 18:44 and 45. Elijah had waited years for this. But now that it was over, what was next? Perhaps he expected an apology from the king or Israel's complete reform. All he got was a death threat from the queen. Chapter 19, verse 2. And Elijah, who had so recently demonstrated such courageous trust in God, faltered. He did not ask God's guidance, he simply ran for his life. Verse 3. He was bitterly disappointed. All his high hopes for Israel had been dashed. He wanted to die. Verse 4. Fortunately, God did not want that. "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Verse 9 asked the Lord. But Elijah evaded the question, instead unleashing a bout of self-pity. Verse 10. All those years spent hiding, finally the long-awaited event, all those watching people, all the work he had done, had it been for naught? God then taught Elijah a very important lesson. He brought before his prophet three mighty powers, a wind, an earthquake, and a fire. All forces of nature that would seem to apparently represent the Almighty, but God deliberately did not associate himself with any of them. Instead, he showed himself as a still, small voice. Verse 12. To Elijah, the visuals were clear. Just because something was big or loud did not mean that it was powerful. Just because Elijah had prepared a grand display to showcase God's might did not mean that the people's hearts had been converted. It is only the deeply personal, endlessly compassionate leading of the Holy Spirit that can transform a soul. Elijah had assumed that his work had been finished after God had rained down fire from heaven. But what if his work had just been the beginning? What could God have accomplished through him had he not deserted at the first peep from Jezebel? But God, ever patient, gave Elijah another chance to continue as his messenger. After that quiet rebuke, Elijah had no more complaints. Instead, he obediently did all that the Lord asked of him. What is your understanding of God's process in winning souls? What role do you have in that process? Our key Bible text for today comes from 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 11 and 12. And he said, "Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains, and brake in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire a still small voice." Thank you for listening to the Amazing Facts Daily Devotional.